after our meeting, and without further ado, I'm going to let Brian do the talking, because he's going to tell us what it's worth. So, Brian, it's in your hands.
Thank you, Elsie, and thanks for coming out tonight. It's nice. It's the coolest place in town, apparently. I mean, literally the coolest place in town. Upstairs, it's like 98.5 degrees. So we're going to spend a little time talking about antiques and collectibles. We're going to talk a lot about values, but most importantly, I want to show you how you can do your own research and what appraisers do and what appraisers don't do. And if you decide to go to somebody to have something appraised, when it's time to turn around, take your stuff and run. Does that sound reasonable? All right, I'll be speaking at 300 words a minute with gusts up to 350. So stay with me. I have some handouts and some little goodies and things like that. There may be quizzes along the way. There are some teachers in the room, so you know all about that kind of stuff. So let's just get going on this too. So we're going to talk about a couple of things, if I can figure out how to make this work. Our host is we'll talk about who our host is. We'll talk about why this particular topic. We'll talk about why now, why me. Because I couldn't get anybody good. What we'll cover, and we'll have a little chance for Q&A. Some people brought some things. We may be able to do a little bit of research on those, or we may be able to just come up and tell you that it belongs to the next church bazaar or somewhere outside of your home, because a lot of people are trying to get rid of stuff. We're all kind of downsizing. If we're moving to other places, we don't want to bring those boxes that we leave in our house for 5 years before we even open them and realize we shouldn't have brought them with us in the first place. So that's what we're going to talk about. So first off, the Hope Historical Society and Museum is our host tonight. We have monthly meetings during the normal year, and they do a lot of really cool stuff. If you haven't been to the museum, you should go down there and check it out. It's open on Sundays.
From 1 to 3 until the end of October.
And you can.
It will also be open for Warren County History Week. So that'll be the first Saturday in November.
Great. That was an old toll collector's house right there by the bridge. So go on down and check it out. So we're going to cover what an appraisal is, why it's important for you to know that, how you can conduct your own research, your own value research, and identification. Because a lot of what makes something valuable is identifying what it is. And we're going to talk about a couple real specific examples along the way. Am I in your way? I'm in your way right here. No, you can see that too? All right. We're going to find your data, but then you have to interpret data, or to turn it into information. There's so much data out there, and that's pretty much useless. Turning it into information is really going to be the key. There's going to be some valuation traps out there, easy things to fall into, where you're going to think something's worth $1 million and it's not. Or the other way, you might find out there are things that you didn't realize were as valuable that you have sitting on your shelf somewhere. So we're going to see if we can narrow it down. And then where can you get more information? I'm going to provide you with some resources on that too. So I'm the guy. So who is this guy? This is Pop Nation, America's Coolest Stuff. I was the host of that TV show on Discovery Channel for a lot of years. It aired for about 3 years. Yes, I had brown hair. I had just shaven my mustache. That was probably in the mid-'80s. Did we know each other then? Okay, so it was kind of, that's my wife Nancy, by the way. She's heard this. Yeah. That's a round of applause for putting up with me for 36 years last week, by the way, too. So why this guy? I get to run into a lot of people of interesting. You know who that guy is?
Spanky.
That's Spanky McFarlane. That's right. And Spanky and I did a couple of jobs together over the years. Again, back in the day. That's him. He died probably about 10 or 15 years ago, but he was the only guy that didn't sue Hal Roach Studios for royalties and rights and all those kind of things, because none of the kids got that stuff. And he ended up being the sole representative of Cabin Fever Videos, which actually sold all of the Little Rascals things until Bill Cosby bought them to take them off the market, and then Bill got into his own problems after that, which is a whole separate topic. When we talk about how valuable autographs become absolutely worthless, Bill Cosby, and O.J. Simpson, another example of those kind of things. This is another show that I did called, for the Reels channel, called Fan Addicts, and I did 3 shows with him. This is Walter Kruger, and Walter Kruger had the biggest collection of Wizard of Oz stuff on the planet. We did another one with a guy named Stephen Petrick, and Stephen Petrick was the Guinness World Record holder for the most Harry Potter collectibles. We did that with my nationally syndicated radio show, Value This, with Brian and Leon. That was a lot of fun, and we did a guy named Bobby Keller, who was a heavy metal guitar player that had a huge collection of monster memorabilia. And we appraised all those things over the course of a year, and there were about 15 shows that ran. I did 3 of those shows. You may have seen me way back when, in the day when we did a program for the Hope School. You may have been there for, I know you guys were there for that. I don't know if anybody else was there for it. People brought things in and we did a little appraisal day to raise some money. Is that you in there somewhere, John?
Jeff Francis.
Oh, yeah. Then we were on WRNJ radio, and we had a show called What's It Worth, or What's It Worth Wednesday. We did that for a little while. And then we graduated to a nationally syndicated radio program. We were on 200,000 listeners a week, 29 channels across, 29 stations across the country. We just closed that down probably just last December. And then more recently, we worked at the environmental fair, the Green Fair, and people brought stuff in, and we had fun with that too. So I've been hanging around town for about 30 years or so, I guess, and involved in a lot of things. I've had an opportunity to meet a lot of people. That's Mort Walker from Beetle Bailey, as you know Beetle Bailey. That is Charles Schultz from Snoopy fame. That is one of my favorite cowboys, Clayton Moore the Lone Ranger. And that's George Burns. And George Burns sent that to me for my birthday. And if you look at that picture, you're going to see there's a little cigar burn here. They took a real cigar and he burned a little smoke trail. And he wrote "Genuine Cigar Burn." And he taped the upper ducto wrapper right down here and sent that to me for my birthday. So I had a chance to hang out with a lot of really interesting people in my work as an appraiser. But my favorite autograph of all time is my favorite cowboy, Roy Rogers. And I didn't get to meet Roy Rogers because he was opening a Roy Rogers restaurant. And there were hundreds of people standing around. So I decided I'd go around back and find his limo driver. I gave the limo driver $20 and a self-addressed stamped envelope and a letter I sent to that I gave to him to give to Roy Rogers. And I went back to work and everybody made fun of me because I didn't see Roy Rogers and didn't get an autograph. About 2 months later, that came. It's the entire words of Happy Trails that he wrote out. I know, isn't that great? I'm going to cry. But that was it. I've had the opportunity to praise a lot of things. This is the Back to the Future DeLorean from the movie Back to the Future. This is me under the car, checking it out. I had a chance to appraise the Harrier jet from True Lies. Remember that? That was actually a model from that. And that's me in the cherry picker. High above Hollywood Casino, and that's the helicopter was also in True Lies. And then I had the chance to appraise the ship model from the movie Titanic. And that's actually the stern that sticks up in the air. It was about 45 feet tall. That's me in the boat down there inspecting that too. So it's the best job in the world. I've met a lot of really interesting people. I've got to touch a lot of interesting things. These guys are 3 Nobel Prize medal winners. They donated their medals to the Ross Perot Museum in Dallas, Texas, and I had a chance to meet with all of them and work with them. And one of these guys, and I won't say which one, I went to his house and I said, "Doc, I need to see your Nobel Prize medal." He goes, "It's around here somewhere." We go into the kitchen and he opened the junk drawer, you know, the drawer that we all have, and he pulls out a baggie. And in this little baggie is a Nobel Prize medal. It was worth about $675,000. But it just did, they just didn't seem to bother him at all. I also had a chance to work with 5 of these 7 guys. They're the original Mercury 7 astronauts. One of them I worked with his mom as well, and that was Neil Armstrong's mom, who donated a lot of stuff to the Neil Armstrong Museum in Ohio. And then after I worked with those guys, they put me in touch with a bunch of other guys, the 12 moonwalkers, and about 8 of those moonwalkers have been my clients over the years. And they had things that they brought to the moon with them. Alan Bean from Apollo 12 somehow got his hands on moon dust, which he probably wasn't supposed to have, and claims that he mixed it in with his paints and began painting. So you can buy paintings done by Alan Bean that theoretically have moon dust in the pigment. And the paintings are all pretty good. I also worked with this guy who asked, I said, "What do you think of me?" He said, "You're my #1 appraiser," is what he said. He didn't say that, but I did the Nixon Watergate papers case. There were 40 million documents that needed to be appraised because the government took them during the Nixon Watergate hearings, and we had to figure out what they were worth because the judge said they belonged to Nixon. You took them, now you got to pay for them. And that case went on for almost 25 years. I met him. He died halfway through the case, and it became a different case. And probably my favorite appraisal of all time was the coat worn by this woman. That's Rosa Parks, by the way. And when her estate got was going to be sold and broken up by an auction house and sold by her nieces, somebody with a lot of money came along and said, I think I'd like to buy the whole thing and donate it to a museum in Detroit. She moved to Detroit after the bus boycott because she couldn't find work down there, and so many folks from the South, African-American folks from the South, moved to Detroit because there was work there. Automobile manufacturing, there was a great opportunity for that. And when they sold all the stuff, the person who bought it picked it up and the coat was missing. And somebody said, where is the coat? They said, well, there was never a coat. So, well, yeah, it was on the inventory list and it was listed in the catalog. Where'd it go? Oh, we don't remember the coat. And it just could have been a coat. No, it was the coat. So this one almost made it to the Supreme Court. And there it is, Supreme Court declines. It got all the way up to an appellate court, didn't make it to the Supreme Court. They somehow settled, but I was the appraiser of that coat and was deposed on that. When I worked for Nixon, I was deposed for 10 hours, which was kind of an interesting kind of a case. So that's enough about me. But I wanted you to know that, like, I'm supposedly the real deal. So what I'm going to tell you is what I do and how I do it and how it's easy for you to be able to do it as well. You know, it sounds like an infomercial, doesn't it, late at night? And you can do it too, that's right. Send in. So just a little bit of direction that I can give you a hand with. So you need to know a little about what an appraisal is and what an appraisal isn't. Anybody in the country can call themselves an appraiser. So every dealer, every hawker, every auction house can say, we're appraisers. And you're going to see people saying we do free appraisals all the time. And by the end of this little section, you'll know whether they really are free appraisals or they're just the offer that they're willing to make on your piece, which maybe have nothing to do with its actual value. So take a look at that. I'll let you read that, and then we'll just break it down for just a second as to what an appraisal is. It's a lot of words. It's independently, impartially prepared by a qualified appraiser. We're going to talk about what a qualified appraiser is or who that is. It's a defined value. We'll talk about what that means. And it's described properly. And we're going to talk to you about how important it is to describe something properly so we can find out the good from the bad in something that might be owned by somebody famous. A specific date, because things change. We talked about Bill Cosby and O.J. Simpson's autographs. Supported by presentation and analysis. You're going to see appraisers that just say, I'm an appraiser, this is worth $20. It doesn't really work that way. And relevant market information. So a typical appraisal for us that we do for anybody starts with 12 pages. And then we start talking about the value and the item itself. Because we have to explain to anybody who reads this report how we arrived at that number. Most of the work I do is for the IRS or for charitable contributions or for divorces or for big litigation cases. We did a lot with the Woolsey fire. Remember the fire down in 2018 that wiped out all the houses in the mountains because the power line came down and went. Well, there's probably 60 or 70 houses that we've been working with on the stuff inside, and it's going to court. So it really needs to be a well-documented appraisal. So it needs to be impartial and unbiased, and it's an opinion, but it's an informed opinion. Every appraisal has an objective and an intended use, and intended users. So if the objective is, and we got a quiz coming up, if it's for insurance, you want to make sure you're going into the retail market to find out what it costs to replace it in the retail market. If it's a sheriff's sale, because Pete Peterson's not here so we can talk about him. He embezzled money from the Hope Historical Society. Yeah, he did not. He did not. I'm looking at the camera. He did not. This is just a story. Then maybe the sheriff will come in and have a sheriff's sale to sell off all of our assets, and that would be at a liquidation value. That certainly would not be a retail value. So everything has a particular use. They meet a professional standard. They meet that standard. It's called the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice. And appraisers can charge by the hour, by the piece, or by the job. They can't charge a percentage of the value. If we could, my appraisals would have been very valuable in that stuff, especially when our kids were in college. Right? We charge 20% of whatever the value is, and this looks like $1 million pot to me. You know, so people will do that. Be aware of that. Or they'll say, well, if this is my appraisal, I charge $200, but if you sell it to me, I'll waive the appraisal fee. Grab your stuff and run. Fees are not related to value. There's a reason, justification. As I said before, anybody can call themselves an appraiser. Back in the 1800s, this is what an appraisal looked like. it was just a laundry list. It was the inventory of the estate of Abraham Darlington. It was $17.99, and these are all of Abraham's assets. And they would be valued as an estate value by a valuer, which is what we were called before. We were called appraisers. And even in England and most of Europe, they're referred to as valuers. And there's a valuer association rather than an appraisers association. So, oops, I just missed that. Come here. There it is. Every item on the planet has at least 5 different values. So if we look at my cell phone here, if I wanted to insure my cell phone, I would look in the retail market. I'd go to Apple, the Apple store, and find out what this would sell for at an Apple store. And I would find out that Apple doesn't sell these anymore because this is kind of an antique in the way of Apple phones, right? So I would have to look in a different market to find out who sells used cell phones. And I would come up with that value, that estimated cost, put it on the insurance schedule so that if I lost this or dropped it when we were kayaking or something along that, I'd go to my insurance company and they would say, it's worth $175, whatever it happens to be. If I was to put this at auction to sell it, it might get half of that, and maybe even half of that because I have to pay the auctioneer a certain amount of money. So these are different values depending upon what the use of the appraisal is. Each item has many values, it has an objective. We have a 25-point checklist that we can go down through, and it has to be included in every appraisal that goes to the IRS, because there's some clerk down there going, number 4 is missing. We're going to deny this appraisal. And they sound like that, too, if you weren't sure. All right? And we talked about the appraisal standard. So now we're going to talk about stuff. Are you ready? All right. What is this? Well, opera glasses. Who said that? Amy. Oh, Amy, you get a valueless pen. Look at that. Oh, look at that. Oh, we'll even deliver it. Okay, see, now people are paying attention. Oh, crap, there's prizes? All right, now I'm going to pay attention. Holy mackerel, I didn't know that. Okay, all right. You're right, it's a pair of opera glasses. What is it? We need to know the style, the color, the size, the condition, who made it, and authentication. Provenance is who owned it, who used it. This is in the way. I'm missing something. Let's get this out of the way. All right. And is that important? So let's take a look at another one. All right. What are these? Oh, who said that? Patty said that. Oh, good. Okay. No, Patty said it first because she knew there's prizes. There you go. That's a valueless pen. Okay. These are really collectible. We don't make these anymore. These are no longer in production since we stopped the show. Right, these are opera glasses. Now, which one of these opera glasses do you think is more valuable?
Mother of pearl.
You think the mother of pearl? You already got a prize. Shut up.
We don't know.
Okay.
We don't know.
Larry says we don't. Larry gets a prize. We don't know. Larry, I'm going to give you a bet you didn't know that book. All right? 101 Antiques and Collectibles that will make you rich, famous, and to hit the party. But it won't keep you any cooler today. So we don't know because we don't know all of the stuff that goes with it. So let me tell you a little bit about this one. Amy thought the mother of pearl ones were worth more. All right, here's what this is. This is a pair of brass opera glasses carried by President Ford at the theater the night he was killed. And that's the brass ones with the black onyx, not the mother of pearl. Amy, you did not choose wisely, as they would say in, right? Pretty rare? Pretty valuable? That's the description in the Christie's catalog from 2002. What do you think it sold for?
No, it's got a crack in the lens, not much.
Crack in the lens, not much. $424,000 in 2002. Now, that was in 2002, and if that's the most common market and someone wanted to donate that, we could probably use that number in 2002. Can't use it today. It's 21 years later. The market has changed drastically. Do I know what it's worth today? I don't. Didn't do the research. I could speculate, but that wouldn't be an appraisal. That would be a wild-butted guess, as someone would say. All right, so understanding what it is going to be really important. So $425,000, what's the intended use? For donation, we can probably use that number. For insurance, could you find another one for $424,000?
No.
Probably not, especially since the guy or gal who bought it knows that somebody wants it and I paid $424 for it. Someone's going to pay substantially more than that. Estate tax, divorce, bankruptcy, casualty, loss, and the question is for what date? So the date should be on the appraisal report as well. So that's just one interesting thing. All right, so let's go on to where you can find information. There are online sales sites all over the place. I'll tell you what they are and where to go. You can just Google stuff and you'll see what people are asking for things. What they're asking is not necessarily what they're worth, right? One of my favorite is the Black Diamond VHS Disney videos. We all have those or had those at some point, right? Someone's asking $25,000 to $50,000 for those, saying things like, no longer in production. No kidding. Very rare, hard to find. Yeah, because everybody dumped them in the garbage a couple of years ago. And on and on, but if you look and see what they actually sold for, they sold for $10 to $12. But, you know, it's like having a load of watermelons and say, what are you going to ask for? I'm going to ask for $1 million and I only got to sell one. But people don't do it. You see that with Beanie Babies too, especially. Online auction sites, subscription databases. We spend about 10 grand a year in subscription databases that people compile the results of auctions and sales for us so we can know. Dealers' catalogs and hard copy catalogs are a great place to look. Go to Christie's and Sotheby's and Bonhams and Heritage Auctions and just look stuff up. You'll have great catalog descriptions. You'll learn a lot about the items and it'll give you a spot. Advertising, Craigslist and Facebook. Facebook Marketplace, they're all great places to look. Nancy is the professional at finding free stuff on Craigslist that's in really good shape, and we end up putting in our house or cleaning up and pop-up campers and all kinds of great things, except the refrigerators. She's still looking for a refrigerator. But we're getting close, okay? So that's the place to look. All right, let's talk about something else here, too. Let's talk about the Pee Wee Herman doll market, all right? And somebody I know is pretty close to the Pee Wee Herman doll market, and it's something that they might... Pete, we were just talking about you embezzling money from the Treasury. Okay. So, where's the market for Pee Wee Herman dolls? If you wanted to find out the value of your Pee Wee Herman doll, where would you go to look? All right? The Pee Wee Herman website, right? The Pee Wee Herman. Now, Paul Rubens recently died, right? And he was Pee Wee Herman, so that may have an impact on this. So I haven't. This is from a while back. This was before Pee Wee Herman's death and Paul Rubens' death. So you think we go to Christie's or Sotheby's to look for these? No. Who said no? Did you say no? Okay, that's good. All right. You better watch because people are going to like jump ahead. And they're gonna. Here's another book for you. There you go. That's great. Good. Okay. So yeah, Christie's and Sotheby's not the place. Garage sales, estate sales. Yeah, eBay, Toys R Us, not around anymore. Bonhams, Walmart, maybe. This is no longer in production. It originally came in a box, and you pulled a little string and went, ha, made you laugh. But over time, and you may know this, they go faster and faster and faster because the little mechanism got messed up. So now he sounds like a chipmunk, at least the one on my shelf here too. And while we're asking questions, anybody know what that is?
A cylinder. Thomas Edison.
Good. Coke's first one up. He gets a pen and a rare WNTI.org sticker. There you go, Coke.
Thank you.
All right, you're in. Yeah, that's an Edison cylinder record. They were Bakelite, and most of them are broken and cracked because people dropped them. How about this thing? Anybody know what that thing is? Oh, everybody knows enough pens for y'all. Too bad. Okay, that is a slide. There are old people in this room. If you know what a slide rule is, holy crap. I bring this to some corporate training programs. I put it on the desk, and the kids just kind of look at it going, they're afraid to ask what it is, you know? That's it. Calculations to land Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin on the moon. We're done with that kind of a thing, which is just amazing to me. So we're trying to figure out a little bit about Pee Wee Herman. So one of the places I like to go, and I'm going to sit, I'm sorry I'm in the way here, is to eBay. Everybody knows it's ebay.com, and you can look up this. So I typed in Pee Wee Herman talking doll, and this is what came up. Here's Pee Wee Herman talking doll in a box. This is not the Pee Wee Herman. This is Pee Wee Herman in a chair. Here's another one, Pee Wee Herman in a box. They're asking $31. They're asking for $199. Some are auctions, and some are just buy it now prices. This is $199. So someone's asking $199.99, under $200, probably $75 shipping. And this has 20 bids on it, and it's at $31. Which one do you think might be closer to reality?
$30.
Exactly. So let's look a little closer at this. The day that I looked at this, there were 85 Pee Wee Herman's dolls for sale on eBay. 85, all right? But that's not where you want to look. You want to go to the advanced search. Let me see if I can find that for you. Up here, it's not here. But over here, it says advanced search. And if you type on advanced search, I'll show you what comes up. You can look at the completed sales. And that's really what you want to look at. You want to see the completed sales. See right there? The sold listings. Because that's going to tell you what actually sold. People call me all the time and say, I sold one on eBay for $45,000. Was it an offer or was it a sale? I don't know. Go to advanced. And when you click on that, eBay only tracks about 90 days of sales before they drop them off. So in the course of 90 days, 208 Pee Wee Herman dolls have sold. This one sold for $120.99. It's a buy it now price. This one sold for under $49.99 because it's crossed out and an offer was accepted below that. This one sold for $40. They were buy it now prices. So we know that Pee Wee Herman dolls probably aren't worth $199 unless you had to buy it at retail and you put it on the insurance claim, because now we're going to look at replacement costs as opposed to market value. I would say that the most common market for Pee Wee Herman dolls is eBay. And eBay didn't used to be a player. There's a lot of really interesting stuff that sells on eBay. And it's legitimate. The director of security was in our office just a few years back. We were talking about fake autographs and how we can avoid that and keep that from happening over the years. So eBay's a player. Don't overlook it. I always start with eBay, unless it's a really rare historical document. We wouldn't find Abraham Lincoln's items there. There's the 208 results we talked about. Here's some more Pee Wee Herman results. This one's not in the box, $45. This was $29. This one's in the box and sold for $31, which is interesting. MIB means mint in box. Something that is brand new, but it's not available on the market is called new old stock, or NOS. And we just finished an appraisal with $1 million worth of toys, most of them from the 60s, most of them that we could have played with if we had enough money to buy them. The Zero M Sonic Blaster, which they took off the market because it blasted air out of this bazooka and kids blew their eardrums out, so they don't sell those anymore. But they're mint in a box. Some have sold for $45,000. Other things, so go look for those old toys around here somewhere. But in the box, in perfect shape. And if you buy one from an old guy or gal that has one mint in the box that has never been touched, they probably spent $45,000 on therapy because their mom or dad said, you can't open it, you can't touch it, it's a toy, open it. But people would do that. Barbie dolls, we're selling for $15,000 mint in the box. And I don't know what's going on with the Barbie market now with the movie being so popular, but that's why it's important to look at the dates of everything along the way. We doing okay so far?
Yeah.
Good, okay. If we go to WorthPoint, and this is a subscription service, I pay $500 or $600 a year to do this. WorthPoint takes all the eBay listings that are more than 90 days old and go back like 20 years. And you can see the results. And this is about 20 years of history. 4,000 Pee Wee Herman dolls have sold. And these are what they sold for in 2014, in 2012, in 2011. So that's how we find out about Pee Wee Herman dolls. So it's no different whether it's Pee Wee Herman or it's anything else. By the way, that Pee Wee Herman doll was a gift from a really, really wonderful friend of ours. And we're having fun with it, too. He sits on my shelf. Let's do some research. You ready? We'll do some real serious research. All right, this is Ernest Hemingway's book, The Sun Also Rises. It was published in New York by Charles Scribner and Son in 1926. Octavo is the size. That's how we books come in: duodecimo, quarto, octavo, folio, or elephant folio. Those big, the big Audubon books are called double elephant folio. They're giant pieces of paper. And it depends on the printing paper and how many times it was folded. This particular size was folded, how many times do you think? 8. Oh man, you guys are all too smart. Again, I don't have enough. Not enough toys. I'm going to make the questions harder. So this is about 6 by 8, 7 by 9 in size. And all the information is on the title page. Sometimes there's a half title page or something called the bastard title page. This is the page you want. Gives you the title, gives you the author, gives you a colophon, which is the little diagram or picture of some type. It gives you where it was published, when it was published, and who published it. All right? Pretty straightforward? All right. Should be easy, right? By the way, this is what it looks like from the front. This is the paper cover that goes over called the dust jacket. Some books were issued with just dust jackets. Some books weren't. So where do we go? Well, we go to eBay, and we could do, but I got to tell you something here. Remember Star Wars? Do you remember Admiral Akbar? Any idea? Any idea what I'm talking about? Well, good. Thank you. John does. It's a trap. All right? You have to watch. It's a trap because there's a trick here, and there's some things about identification that we need to know. So if we go to Rare Book Hub, again, a subscription service, costs me about $1,000 a year to have. We put in the author, we put in the year, we put in the title, which is all we kind of need, and then we see what kind of results we get. And the results we get tell us that in 2021, one sold for $32,000, one sold for $3,000, one sold for $1,800, $600, one sold for $87,500. I don't want to be that guy. $4,000, $40,000, $1,100, $2,000, $35,000. There's 18 sales, and we look at that and go, that's a really big span. There's 50 auctions over the past 20 years of these books. They range between $188 and $161,000. How can that be? Well, our copy that we just described is not properly described because books come not only in first editions, but they come in first states and first printings of the first editions. And the first printings and the first states of first editions are more valuable, have proven to be more valuable than the first edition that's a second printing or a third printing, but it's still a first edition. Still says 1926 on it, still has the same page. So our copy is the first publication, not necessarily a first edition, or have an original dust jacket. This one had an original dust jacket, which means you got to do some research. You got to do a little more digging. So we're going to dig. On page 181, the word stopped is incorrectly spelled with 3 P's. Now, if you didn't know that, you would go through somebody's house and you go, oh, that's a car. I'll buy that for $3 because I never read it and I hear this guy's pretty good. The front panel of the dust jacket says in our times, not in our time, and our book is in very fine to excellent condition with minimal restoration or no restoration to the dust jacket. Once you start fixing them up and restoring them and putting tape on them, either properly or improperly, it changes their value. So where is our book? Let me show you a little bit about.
How do you know that the word stopped has 3 P's on page 181? Where do you find that information?
Oh, where did you find out that makes it the first edition of the first state? There are bibliographic researchers that do that. So if you went to this website, the Rare Book Hub website, or a website called ABE Books, abebooks.com, I'll talk more about that later. It stands for Antiquarian Book Exchange. Books, abebooks.com, you just look at what people are selling. And you look at the most expensive ones, and somebody's done that research for you that says, first edition, first state, on page 181, there are 3 P's. Okay. That's how I found out. And I'm working on an appraisal out there in the middle of Minnesota, and does it make a difference? Well, you bet your donkey it does, all right? And we need to know what the difference is, and that's a great question, and that's definitely a pen. That's definitely a pen question. That's right there, stopped with 3 P's. Now, if I didn't know that before I went in to do this appraisal job, or you're wandering through an estate sale and you didn't know that, then you probably would ignore that. Also, the original dust jacket says in our times, and I've seen people take this book and the wrong dust jacket because they mixed them up or they thought they were putting them together and didn't have the details. That can have a huge impact on value. So what I do, I buy this book with the wrong dust jacket, go find this dust jacket without the book, put them together, and it's called a married piece. They do that with furniture too. They take this piece and that piece, they put them together, and they don't really belong together, and furniture experts will tell you that's a married piece and it doesn't have the same value as an original piece. So that's the book for what it's worth. Let's go a little for it. And so if we look at an organization called American Book Prices Current, and we type in Sun also, because we don't need any more, we got the year, we put in Hemingway, we start looking for stuff of the first edition. We can find out what things sold for. 70 grand, 26 grand, 32 grand, 3,000, but the ones that are the first edition first states, like this guy right here, I think I can make that bigger for you. Is that the one that's 87? I think I can make this bigger. Let's see if I can make this bigger. Ooh, look at that. Okay. So this one is described as a first edition, all right? near mint, unrestored jacket, which is ours, doesn't have any restoration to it. The word stop spelled 3 times, and then this is the reference in the bibliographic reference where we would go to find that. And the book catalogers know that, original black cloth, printed on paper, the whole bit. This sold, I think at Christie's or Sotheby's, let's find out, let's go back to where we were. That sold at Christie's for $87,500. Not a bad find. You need to look for those. They're out there somewhere. Okay, let's see what else I got. Here's another one. We don't need that. We did that already. If you go to Abe Books, this is where you should look your books up. Or if you're going, you want to buy them and you want to find books, you go to the book sale and you want to see what's going on. Bring this with you. You can do this on your phone and you can type it in. And here's Hemingway's Also Rises. This is black cloth, labels dust jacket, first edition, first state stopped, but it probably doesn't have the right dust jacket. Slight tanning, back strip, some darkening, not as in great condition. Someone's asking $45 for that. Could you take that and get it cleaned up and maybe bring it to a professional book restorer and then put it in Christie's? You might be. This is an 8th printing, and even the 8th printing of Hemingway's Sun Also Rises sold for the offer is $7,000. These are offers. This is a retail site. So we use this to find out how many books like that are out there, not necessarily what they're worth.
And they're really charging shipping on the price of a book $45,000.
I'm sorry, is it right?
Is that U.S. shipping?
$5, and that's because Abe Books doesn't allow you to jack up the shipping. But there might be a $300 insurance fee that goes with it, so I can get it there. Or if I was going to spend $45,000, I'm getting in the car. I'm going to go pick it up myself. I'm not putting that one in the mail. Okay, good. Okay. So now what? We talked about Pee Wee Herman dolls. We talked about opera glasses. We talked about Hemingway. All of these different things have different values depending upon why we're doing it. So that's what you need to know. So the appraiser is always going to ask you, the first question the appraiser is going to ask you is why. So how do we do this? All right, here comes our quiz. I need insurance coverage. It's estimated replacement cost. What would it cost to replace it in a retail market? Does that make sense? Yeah. You're not going to find that in a garage. Appraiser's not going to say, well, you could find it at a garage sale in a couple of years. They're going to say, no, if you want to buy it from a dealer, it's going to cost that. If you want to donate it, the IRS has a definition of fair market value. Willing buyer, willing seller, knowledgeable buyer, knowledgeable seller, neither of being any compulsion to buy or sell. So there's no pressure here. Both of them are smart, both know what they're doing, both don't have to make the sale or make the purchase. That's a true open market. And fair doesn't mean reasonable. Fair means, in medieval times, you went to a fair and you wandered around and you bought stuff and you sold stuff. It was a fair where it was very common, considered the most common market. If I want to sell it, it's probably market value. But if you sell something at auction, you need to understand that the auctioneer has to make some money too, right? So you'll see something sells for $1,000. So you consign a bracelet made of Yankee press pins on it, whether you're Yankee fan or not, and they put it at auction, and it says sold. That lady right there for $1,000. That lady right there is not paying $1,000. That lady right there is paying $1,250 because the auction house charges a buyer's premium. Now you're the consigner. How much are you going to get? Well, you're probably going to get about 70 to 80% of the hammer price, sold for $1,000. So you're going to get $600, $700, $800 on a purchase of $1,250. So you're going to get a little more than half of what the buyer pays. So if we looked at market value, we're going to talk about the net to the seller if sold by a broker. A broker could do that too. Amy, did your pen not work? Do you want another pen?
The buyer.
What's that?
The buyer paid the auction house.
The buyer pays the buyer's premium plus the hammer
Auction
price.
house. Plus, I sold it, but I only got half of the value. Who got my other $600?
The auction house, yeah.
You're making out like bandits.
Yes, but true, they're making out like bandits. Also, they can reach 100,000 people that you can't reach,
Oh, absolutely.
right? So their business is to find a buyer for your stuff or for their consigner stuff. So yeah, do they get a hefty chunk? And buyer's premiums started 25 years ago, and people were outraged, and now they're not. There are no buyer's premiums on eBay, but you do pay a consignment fee to put it at eBay, and it might, I don't know what it is now, it might be 20% at this point, and people always squawk about it, but you know what? You put something on eBay, millions of people, literally millions of people will see it, Okay, so that's market value. Let's say you're getting divorced. Or let's not say you're getting divorced. Let's just say somebody's getting divorced. It could be the net to the seller, or it's what the seller would have to pay to buy it. So sometimes when we do divorces, and it doesn't matter whether we're working for the husband or the wife, we are working for the truth. Appraisers are working for the truth. They don't go low because they don't like their client and they want to see the spouse get more. They don't go high because they know the judge is going to split the baby and the other person is going to be low, so you go high. We provide the actual market value, or whatever the definition is, based on case law. And it doesn't matter who we work for, because appraisers are working for the truth. And that report goes to both sides. And everything we do in that report, both sides needs to be able to see and understand. And people get all freaked out about that, going, well, you're working for my husband and he's your friend. He's not my friend. He never was my friend. And he shouldn't have bought that boat and all those baseball cards. What it will be worth if I restore it, and that's called the hypothetical appraisal. What if we can make the color on that your triangular stamp from the Cape of Good Hope or wherever it was look better? Well, sometimes they can do that with certain gases that bring out the pigments a little better, but it costs $500 to do that. And it's really not legitimate, but you don't really care. But you said, if I did this, how much would it be worth? That's a hypothetical appraisal. If I have a painting that's damaged, when Stephen Wynn stuck his elbow through a Picasso a few years back, do you remember that? He was paid like $1.5 million for it. Well, what would it be worth if he had it restored, knowing that everybody knows that he put his elbow through it, so it's not original. It's been restored. That's a hypothetical appraisal. We do those all the time. Somebody said, I have 2 Jenny invert stamps, which are incredibly rare stamps. Said, if I burned one in public, how much would the one that's left be worth? And they said, well, when they find your burnt body somewhere by all the stamp collectors in the world, it would probably be worth, and we do the research to find out. All right, those kind of things too. So that's all the stuff that we do. And I want to charge people to show it to them. So Amy just got her pen. She's going to start a little business. Says for $1, you can come to my house and I'll show you my value of this pen. All right, that's called the income approach. People do that all the time. If somebody buys something and they want to be able to display it, maybe they want to know what the income approach is. What would it cost? Well, how can we raise money with it? We did that with the Nixon Watergate papers. We said one thing you could do is you could take all the Nixon Watergate tapes, cut them into 1-inch squares, put them in little lucite blocks, say this is a piece of the Watergate tape, and sell them for $25 in a gift shop. Well, the other Department of Justice went, oh, that's a bunch of crap. No one would ever do that. Now, if you go down to the Smithsonian, not the Smithsonian, the National Archives, you can go in the gift shop and you can find little pieces of it. So we should have got a commission on that because that was our idea. But that's the income approach. If I had a moon rock, I could charge 10 cents a piece. Everybody's got coins, right? A couple things to look for about coins. These are called Morgan silver dollars. All right, this is an everybody answer. Which one of these is in better condition? Yeah, okay, this one not hard. This was an easy one, okay? Yeah, see this, you can see all the things in her hair here. You can see all the letters. You can see all the feathers in this. This is from 1904. This one's from 1891. It's pretty worn in this version. I think mine is from like 2010 because I don't use it for values. We don't use price guides for values, but I do scan down to find which of the silver dollars are most valuable. So when I have a bunch in front of me and I'm appraising them and I don't remember which one's which, I just look down and go, oh, I'm looking for an 1891 Carson City. So I go through that and see if I can find those that we pull off to the side. Most of these coins will sell for the price of their silver because people don't collect coins like they used to, and they have to be extremely rare and extremely good condition. So, but most of the time they just trade for the value of silver, which trades and changes every single day. Sometimes you have a lot of stuff. This is 7.5 linear miles of the business records and city records of the city of Philadelphia. We took about 6 months to do this appraisal job, but we could have taken the value of every single one of these tens of millions of dollars worth of items and individual items and then add them all up. We had to look at it as an archive. So you have to appraise things for what they are, not bits and pieces. What we need is the letter from Gerald Ford that says, I really made a mistake when I pardoned Nixon, I really shouldn't have done it. That doesn't exist. But if it did, it'd be a really good letter, you know? And this is my transcript, my 1,200-page transcript of my deposition. So we had to look at it as a collection, and we'd have to look for other collections just like it. And there wasn't one, but there was Winston Churchill. had a big archive that sold. So we used that and adjusted upward because this was a little more significant than that collection. Now, how does that fit with you? You got a sterling silver set somewhere, right? So this would be a sterling silver flatware set, and it'll be marked sterling or it'll be marked 925, because sterling silver is 92.5% silver, and the rest is nickel and other base metals that make it. So you could take the individual price of all of these or value of all these and add them up, but that wouldn't be accurate. You want to look at this as a set. And remember, when you weigh silver, because a lot of these sell for the value of the silver, you have to weigh them in troy ounces. And there are 12 troy ounces to a pound, as opposed to 16 ounces that we're used to. So a troy ounce is heavier than a typical ounce that we're working with. So if you weigh them, you got to convert, from 12 to 16 to find out. And you can find out what these are worth because you do the same kind of thing. You go on eBay and you find out what sets are selling for. This is asking price. This is an asking price for 2 serving pieces. You can also look, see, I got something else here too. There's some other individual sets. This is 172 pieces of sterling flatware sets show up. These 4 pieces sold for $115, and it should tell us somewhere in the description when you look a little further down what the weight is, how many troy ounces this is, because silver changes every day, and people that buy and sell are usually trading. They're usually day traders of silver. They'll buy silver in the morning and sell it in the afternoon to a refiner or to somebody else along the line. Gold traders have a tendency to hold gold longer because in the past it's been a little more stable than silver. So we're getting there. We're getting there. This is another place you want to go. You want to find out what the retail price of things are. Replacements.com. And these people are in the business of helping people who have lost things, and they work with insurance companies that said, my Gorham sterling flatware set melted in a fire. And then you go back, and those are going to be retail prices. And these are asking prices. They don't discount these two. And you can sell to them, but you can bet your bottom dollar that the price they're selling for isn't anywhere close to the price that they're paying. Right? And they do it with china and silver and porcelain and glass. But that's a place to go. You can find out what people are actually selling them for. So remember, we're looking at them as a set. This is a 1997 Miata with 193,000 miles on it. It is not 9,650 Miata parts. Okay, so understand you've got to praise it for what it is and what it's meant to be. That's Nancy's car. She lets me drive it once in a while. I take it to Pocono once in a while, or at least I used to. All right. So keep in mind, too many things that hit the market at the same time, flooding the market. It's all about supply and demand. Beanie Babies. Oh my gosh, Beanie Babies. Leon had the biggest Beanie Baby sale in the country at one time, and he regrets it because he still gets calls about, what's my Beanie Baby worth? I have a Beanie Baby. So supply and demand. How fast can things get absorbed in the market? We looked at our Pee Wee Herman dolls. There's a lot of them out there. It takes a long time to sell a Pee Wee Herman doll for its market value. Reason, justification, another trap to avoid, grouping and categorizing things. So whatever you have, put it in where it belongs and what kind of group it is. Look for the best of the best, pull them out. The Princess Di Beanie Baby, yes, still is more valuable than most of the other Beanie Babies. But now they're talking about the type of beans that are in them, the little plastic fillings. Some are acrylic and some are this kind of plastic and that kind of plastic. They're getting crazy. The tags, are the tags the original tags? Do they have error printings on the tags? People are looking for ways to make things more rare and more scarce. And in my personal opinion, based on all of my research, is Beanie Babies are best used to scrub pots and to get, and when you're doing your wheels and you're in between the spokes of your wheels, they get in there really well, especially the Princess Di Beanie Baby, which fits in there really well. What, too soon? Okay. So here's what we covered. We talked about what appraisal is. We talked about why it's important. We talked about conducting your own value research and where you can go to get those things. Assess reliable auction databases, how to interpret the data, how to avoid the valuation traps, make sure you know what you're appraising, and we talked about where to get more information. And I have more of that stuff for you too. So with that, let me just go here and talk about some of the resources. Talked about eBay, you know how to get there? Yep. eBay.com. The Red Book, it's called the Red Book, it's published by Whitman. Scott Stamp Catalog, we didn't talk about stamps, but every stamp on the planet has a Scott catalog number associated with it, and that catalog number is a registered trademark of Scott. So when you look up, if you're trying to figure out what's what, you can type in 2-cent Thomas Edison light bulb stamp. And if you do that on eBay, it'll tell you the Scott number. Then you go to the Scott catalog, and you can see the exact description and see if that's the one you have, and then you can start searching under that Scott number to find out what that stamp's worth. A-books we talked about, shops and galleries. Wander around, go up to the Scranberry Coop up here in Andover. Go to Lisa's place in town. Go to all the auctions you can go to. Go on over to Stewartville and see Dennis auction. Go up the road and go out to Hartzell's. Just sit in the auctions and just have fun and check it out. You don't have to raise your hand. And if you scratch your nose, they're not going to go, sold to that lady again for $1,000. Just go and check it out. Live auctions, Worth Point. Live Auctioneers is another place. You can look things up there too. Heritage Auction is a good spot, ha.com, because if you just sign up, they don't charge you. You can look at all of their auction results. Christie's and Sotheby's does the same thing. You can search for things and find out what they actually sold for. But more importantly, you get a really good catalog description so you can know what you're looking for and know what you're looking at. Hakes Americana out in central Pennsylvania does a lot of toys. They do lunch boxes and all kinds of really cool stuff. Your county library is a great resource. Rare Book Hub is paid. Everything But the House is a cool place. And that's where a lot of the tag sale people go and they put stuff up on auction. Live Auctioneers, Everything But the House, and Invaluable is another one. And you can always go to Ask Art or Invaluable, or you can always find yourself a qualified appraiser. But you can do a lot of this on your own. Appraisers charge a lot of money. They're all overpriced. So with that, I got some stuff. I got some handouts as to how you go about some selling things. But I want to open it up to questions and see if you have any questions for me or things I can help you with. If you brought stuff and you want to hold it up, we can talk about that too. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so this says copyright 1940, Ernest Hemingway, but it's a book club edition, which lets us know that it's not the first edition. The book club bought the rights to it and published it later on. And what we'll do is I'll take a picture of this after our meeting's over, and I'll see if we can look it up for you. But my guess is you should not go buy King a new car based on this. Okay? All right? It's cool. Again, look at condition's going to be really big. All right? We're looking for first edition. I don't know Hemingway's first edition, first state. I don't know the bullet points on that. But I would be pretty comfortable in saying if it says book club edition, it's probably not that rare. Yeah. Good. What else?
Okay.
Listen, tell me, they go for a couple of bucks. And this is a 71 Eisenhower. I don't think they're silver. Rare. And if you look at them, they look like if you look at coins past 65 that are silver-clad coins, they look like an Oreo, a backwards Oreo. Silver on the outside and like brown or copper on the inside, because they actually laminated them together. So this is the best one you got. Again, you probably have to go to work tomorrow. But outside of that, these are just collectible. But I don't think they're exceptionally rare. Good. Anybody else? Silver dollars. In 1921, they changed from the Morgan silver dollar to the peace dollar, and she was kind of like a deco, spiky-haired looking Liberty. Not nearly as ugly as the original Liberty, but there you go. So this is 1926. It's silver. I don't see a rare mint mark on it. Oh, wait a minute. There is a mint mark on it there. But I don't think it's exceptionally rare. But I would look that one up. It's probably same as Tom's in the $25 range. No mint mark on this 1883. No mint. Oh, there's an S on this one. What's the S stand for? San Francisco. You know there too. That's a little more rare. This is a commemorative silver coin, Columbus commemorative silver coin. They're selling for about 25 bucks. Again, this is just off the top of my head. This is the best looking one. This would be called a BU, a brilliant uncirculated. And that doesn't have a mint mark on it, but it's in really nice shape. And most of them, unless they're rare dates, and